Carlson, I want to start by asking, becoming a director, transitioning from acting primarily, what are the biggest challenges you've confronted so far in that process? And there may be many, so maybe you could pick one that you'd
Yeah.
highlight, maybe in particular that came about on this project.
I mean, I think it's a process of, um, gosh, it's like you said, it's kind of hard to pick one.
There's a lot.
Um, yeah, there's a lot, but they're all good challenges, like things like being underestimated. It's a good challenge. And I think just trusting a woman, it's a different process. My creative process might be slightly different from somebody else's, man or woman, honestly. I think that it's easier to trust a man sometimes. Anyway, yeah, that's been my experience.
Sophie, that's an interesting segue because I'm curious for you, working on the project, trusting Carlson, choosing to, but also like, you've worked with other female directors too, obviously, and I'm curious your take on that and this project in particular.
You know what? For me, Carlson, Carlson is one of one of the first female directors I've worked with. I've worked with maybe three or four others, but she was one of the first, and I found it such a safe space and so much easier to dive into the emotional depth of each character, and especially with Carlson's experience as a young actress. Like it was just, it felt so right to have her be the one to direct this movie. Um, and actually, after Carlson, like last year, I worked with two more female directors, and now I feel like I only want to work with female directors because it is such a trusting, safe experience, especially when you're putting yourself out there in quite a vulnerable way. I just want Carlson with me all the time. Direct all my things.
I want you all the time. I'm serious. I mean
And
it.
you've also been a young actor, like you started young, and you were thrown into some extremely vulnerable things early on. So
Me?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And so I'm curious, this project has parallels to real life stuff, obviously, but it's about somebody, a celebrity being, stalked to a certain extent. And I'm curious for the two of you, and maybe start with Sophie, like there's got to be personal connection to some extent, ways you relate to the character, opening up sides of yourself and scarier things that like might be hard. So I'm curious to hear you guys talk about connecting on that and creating it together.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was a lot that I think, that mirrored my life. And so it was actually like, you know, when something happens like this, yes, it's easy to portray everything that she's going through on screen easier, but it's so much more vulnerable and exposing. And as an actor, like what I love about acting is that I'm not myself and I get to like go and be someone totally different. And for this, there was so much more of me in this, in Lauren. So Carlson and I really kind of worked together very closely on like our past experiences, being actors and growing up young in the public eye. And there was just so much that she and I could kind of go back and forth on, and channel into this character. And it was, I mean, she was genuinely the perfect person to make this movie with. I mean, we we just it was like a cosmic, it
It
was like
was.
divine intervention.
It was. I felt it too. It was like just worlds colliding, and we were able to mirror each other and the story
Yeah.
in this really special way. I haven't come across it yet, and it was incredibly cathartic.
Yeah.
And so when you were, when you go through the process of like editing Carlson and like finishing, do you see in the finished film, in the work, what you felt as you guys were working together on set? Like, how does it manifest as a director? Like after the work you did together, when
Oh,
you're off alone in the
certainly.
final stages.
And something like, I don't even know if I've ever told you this, Sophie, but it's like there's a levity in the film, and there's like a light in the dark places, and that's something Sophie has such a handle on. Like I'm like we're crying and we're laughing. And like, that's the point, you know, like that is something so beautiful to bring to life and the material. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just, I said this earlier, but I mean it again. It's like, it's not easy to play with material that's this heavy. And like Sophie taught me, and the edit taught me that it is possible.
Hmm.
It was like a beautiful, like, hope was kind of born for me. And I started expanding it really had a direct impact in expanding my definition of what a mother is.
Wow, that's really
What
cool.
a compliment. Thank you.
Sophie,
Yeah.
I'm curious how, this kind of project where it's smaller, there's certain challenges, more personal, and then you move on to some big things, and you've certainly been on some big franchise things where there's a whole other weight to it and pressure. And like Carlson just said, you bring a certain levity or lightness to it. When you're moving back into the world of the Tomb Raiders, for example, like, can you still maintain some of that? And how does it manifest there that you have space to move and explore? Obviously, challenges are so different with that kind of pressure of IP and in budget. Like, it's a different kind of pressure, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know what you're talking about with that project you mentioned. But, but when it comes to like, you know, franchises or like bigger projects like that, there's a lot more cooks in the kitchen and a lot less space for like your own personal creativity to come in. But it also depends on the people that you're making it with. If you're with, 10 or 12 like-minded people who want to hear what you can bring to it, then it's a different experience. But, if it's all just down to some bigwigs you've never met at a studio that's miles and miles and miles away and they're directing you from there, then it's challenging. But what I love about making smaller things is that it does get to be such a collaborative process. And Carlson and I did a lot of prep together. I don't know how long we did it for, but it felt like you and I were constantly
Yeah.
like um every day at the hotel just going through it for hours and hours and hours, and it was amazing to, for Carlson to allow me that creativity was such a blessing, and for us to just be able to share stories and let that inform the work was just a really amazing experience, and one that I don't think you get very often.
Yeah,
So
maybe
Yep.
it's a luxury not often afforded, is the intimacy of the creative pool, right?
Ooh, yeah, that's a really good word.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a much better way of putting it. Can you
I
just
know,
quote
I know.
yourself on that one, Sophie?
Well, that's me making up for mentioning that other project that you know nothing about. Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to ask you guys also though about like the pressures of the set, of the time frame, of some of the resources. So I'm curious, are there memories that you'll always take with you? I'm sure there are some from this experience that'll be like the defining, like, that was making trust, like that day on set, that part of the process.
There's so much.
Yeah,
We had
there
the
is.
best time on this movie. Can I just say we had the best time? We basically became like best friends within days, all of us.
Yes.
And there's too
It,
much to choose from. Do you have
there's
anything?
too much there's too much to choose from. We were shooting in Mexico City, which is a really deeply creative place. It's also a blast.
Yes.
So I think the environment lent itself to like some real joy. And then every day, like, every day I went home and I would feel like normally I'm exhausted at this process and I was energized. And that was a real testament to everyone's energy. And sure, we were doing everything practically, so there was like physical production things that were stressful, but energetically it was really joyful.
Yeah.
You guys, I have to wrap, but I hope you find a way to do it again together, because obviously it worked and you had a great time. So congratulations, and thanks so much for your time. And I'll see you
Thank
around.
you, George. Thank
Thanks.